Pain and stress are completely linked. And there's now lots of evidence to support that. And it explains, I think, why so many people are struggling with chronic pain in their current lives, in the current climate. And starting to put together the link between pain and stress has certainly made a massive, massive difference to the outcomes of the patients that we see in our clinic. So there are different types of stress, and we have stress in our daily life. And in a way, stress is absolutely key to our survival. If we didn't have a response in our tissues and in our brain and in our hormones, when there is an event that is challenging, we wouldn't have survived this long. But what happens often is that stress becomes very persistent and very pervasive in our life, and it then starts to adapt the way that the nervous system works. So as I say, you may have stress currently. You might have had stress in the past. I mean, it may be gone now, or it may be still persisting. It may come from as far back as your childhood. And we now know that there's a link between, as I say, the adaptations that your nervous system makes at those times or ongoing, and pain. You also, and many of us who experience chronic pain, actually are quite pressured on ourselves. We push ourselves, we're people pleasers, we are always striving. And that internal stress that we produce is something that is, again, another pressure on our system. And when we're under pressure, we then get all sorts of messages coming from our brain to our body, and our body from our brain, and it then starts to produce all sorts of symptoms. So, we often hear people say, oh, I've got, a bit of indigestion. I think it's because I'm stressed. And they might have I've got a headache. I think it's a tension headache. And not so much do people talk about, oh, I'm stressed, there's my pain. And one of the things that we try and identify in this program is what stressors may be influencing your pain. And it's absolutely eye-opening sometimes, the things that have come from our story, either currently or in the past, that actually make a huge deal of difference. So there's a lot more evidence latterly to show that this is the case. And the most wonderful thing is that we now have strategies for identifying and for then fixing those problems. Now, obviously, if it's something like your job that is causing you stress, you can't just walk out of your job one day and make it go away, because that brings up all sorts of other stress with it. But it is about then teaching your nervous system some resilience, teaching your nervous system how to still function and do your job. And it can be an ongoing process, and it starts with identifying the stressors. And when we get into the backpack part of the module, that's where we start to do that.